on our lease, he was a window peeper. No one knew anything about it, see, until, well, I know he was at our house one time. But anyhow, later on, the school children would gather at the tool house there on the Gusman lease, and then the bus would come by and pick them up, so he'd take them to school. Well, one morning, he was under the tool house, and the boards, of course, weren't, there was cracks in, and he was looking up at little girls under their dresses. The roustabouts was on the truck, going out to a well. They saw him there under that. They all jumped off of the truck. They held a kangaroo court right there, and he was fired.
Oh, okay.
Right there.
Wow.
We had a town drunk, don't forget that.
Oh, you had a town drunk?
Oh, yes, we had a town drunk. Everybody remember the town drunk?
No, I didn't know about that.
One day he was all battered up, his face. Seems that he was walking down the street with his hands in his pockets, and he tripped and fell. He had his hands in his pockets, he couldn't catch himself. So he was pretty beat up.
Where would he have gotten his alcohol?
Oh, well, there's bootleggers everywhere. Yeah, made it himself, maybe.
My dad made beer.
Did your parents then participate or frequent the bootleggers?
I don't know, well, my dad did a little.
My dad made his own.
Your dad did, your dad did.
My dad made his own beer.
Now, the preacher's kid,
My grandfather tells the story of how he was approached by a bootlegger to run liquor from somewhere. He was promised a new suit of clothes and a certain amount of cash and a Stutz Bearcat, and he turned it down. And he said he had an acquaintance of his that took the guy up on the offer, and he said on his first run somewhere some hijackers barricaded a bridge, took the Stutz Bearcat, the cash, the suit, and the rest of his clothes, and left him naked on the bridge. So my grandfather said he was always glad he said it was quite a temptation, particularly with the Stutz Bearcat and the cash, but he said he's glad he didn't take up on it.
Larry, what year would that be?
I don't know what year it was. He just told
Way
the
back
story.
when the Stutz That was an old car, even in my day.
Yes.
I just have one question. I know we just asked a little bit ago. Our part with the Historical Society, we're going to be telling your story for years and years and years and years. What one common thing, and we just asked a little bit ago, do you want us to tell people to remember you and your family and the town? What do you not want us to forget to say?
And we were not oil field trash. No.
That's okay.
Despite the fact that they already thought so.
That you were happy, you weren't oil field trash, sense of community. I mean, what do you want us to tell your
Just
story?
an excellent place to live, good community to live in.
Well, I think there were high values in the community.
I think so.
And people were concerned about each other. When you did school activities, the whole community came. After your children were grown, you still went to the school activities, and you supported the school and the community activities, so that there was just such a sense of everyone being involved with each other, and deep friendships that still are real important. We had an Oil Hill School reunion a few weeks ago, and there were over 300 people who came from all over the United States. And when they got there, it was just so much fun because everyone was so glad to see each other. And they came, in the morning or at 1 o'clock, and they stayed all afternoon and evening. And it was just wonderful to see different neighbors. In the neighborhood, we played hide and seek and kick the can at night, and it wasn't just your street, it was whoever was big enough and could stay out after dark, and so the little kids played with the big kids, and we were laughing about, I'm sure they took advantage of the little ones, but not badly. I mean, I think they figured out who got to be it first, and if you were little, it took you longer to figure out how to avoid that. But you just kind of took care of each other, and you still have that strong sense of
Even today?
A friendship. Mhm.
Even today, your friendships are still the best.
I think the strong sense of community is the best thing
Do
that
you
you
think
can
that,
say.
did that come from the company? Where did that come from? How did we lose
Well,
that?
it was a long-term.
Yeah, the people.
From the people?
Yeah.
I think there was something about everybody working, I would guess that there was something about everybody working for the same company. You know, it was kind of a common ground. It was almost, yeah, in some ways it would be like military folks, except, you know, you weren't a transient. I mean, people would move off and work in other parts of the company's, you know, empire.
And there
But-
really wasn't a difference
still, it
made
was-
in what the job you had. It didn't matter
There's
if you
longevity
were,
there. Yeah.
you know, whether you were a pipeliner or whether you were the superintendent or
Yeah.
what you were. The kids were all treated the same, and
Yes.
you never felt like you were inferior to anyone because their dad had a better or a lesser job
Yeah.
than yours.
All right, you brought up something, 'cause we were military, and I know how you're accepted. And are they accepted and welcome? Yeah, I mean, if you're military, they come to your door, and they're knocking on your door, and they're saying, we're glad you're here, because it's necessity with military.
We did the same thing.
The same thing?
Yeah.
She's got a story about
Yeah,
that?
when we moved in, the neighbors all came and helped us, you know. They helped us clean the house, and we painted and sanded floors, and our house looked really nice. And someone we didn't even know, he said, well, I'm taking you home, stay all night.
Oh,
You know.
okay,
And
all
we said,
right.
no, we just not going because we don't even know her. Well, you're going anyway.
Oh,
So that's the way the people were when you moved in there.
okay. That is that family.
Automatic
That's it.
acceptance.
It's
Automatic
the family.
acceptance.
If there was a fire or something, and there were a number of fires in Oil Hill because the houses were, you know, when they
Safe
burned, they were
location.
gone. I mean, it was to the ground. But then the neighbors all got together and brought things to the people, you know, and got them a place to live, and then they'd have kind of showers or something for them and bring food and appliances and things like that to get them started again, so.
Now, they had a fire truck when we.
Yeah, we had a fire truck,
And volunteers.
Still got the Quonset hut.
mainly to keep it
I
from
was just
spreading.
remembering about the ball games. Do you remember that they had the ball games?
I got to the fire before the fire truck.
Kids all got
As
to
close
play
as those
together
houses
while
were, it's a wonder that they
Now,
didn't burn the whole town.
Was it schools, or was it?
and you met, and that was just another time that we all socialized.
I don't know your
So
name.
you socialized at ball games, you socialized at the pool, you socialized at school
And
activities.
Saturday night, we all came to El Dorado, and the men sat on the fenders of the car and visited. The women sat in the cars, and the kids ran up down the street.
Went to Fairmont for an ice cream cone.
Had to come in early to get a good party. Yes, you did. Mostly around the courthouse.
Now,
you
see
could
if
get there down.
see on top, Pat, if did it like little
Yeah.
deals?
That
Okay.
is, if you got there late, you had to sit there, park there.
Yeah, right there, right?
Her
husband
kind of
worked
had
for
your own
Oxy.
spots, too.
I said her husband worked for Oxy, and she can tell you,
Must not be.
it's not the company like we started with.
So it's a whole different
That's
world.
so many years later, though.
The world is different than it was then.
Companies would move their employees around, and so the employees for different companies didn't have that stability that the city service people had, because they stayed there from the time they were born until they got out of college or moved off and got married, and their kids were still there. So the stability, I think, had an awful lot to do with it. And it was the times also, because it was an oil boom, and so there was lots of oil, so the company was successful. So the people were,
Shared the wealth.
yeah, and the people were,
I don't think anyone's
there.
mentioned that early on, of course, none of you as old as I am, but the company furnished a doctor, and when we got sick, the doctor came to visit us. It didn't cost us anything. And that was true for a good many years. Dr. Cassadon was our last company doctor, and I do think we had to, by that time, we had to pay the doctor. But he lived in Oil Hill and was our doctor.
yes, he did.
And remember when we had the little red placards we put on the doors, we had chicken pox?
Yeah.
New ones that we had
Quarantine.
resold.
Yeah.
Do you have
Yes, we do. But
And ice, George, we had
Oh, the
to
ice
put in
man.
the window for ice, 50 pounds or whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all set out and put their clothes to soak, and then early on Monday morning, they'd be ready to do their laundry.
I
On the
hated
Gus
moist
police,
day.
they always tried to be the first one to be, have their clothes out.
Why is that? Why is that? Just a...
I don't know, pride, I guess.
And then they put on a pot of beans, and have beans, fried potatoes, cornbread for dinner, supper, whichever.
Sounds good.
You know, I still associate Clorox with beans.
With, some kind of, was it vanilla wafer, but they were bigger than that. And they were filled, and then they were rolled in whipped cream and coconut.
Oh, they had those when I was young. It was not, except with me, the center was gooey stuff, or,
No, they're not
this is
like-
different, you remember eating
Oh,
at
I
those
love
functions?
those snowballs.
Angel food cake.
Angel food
Angel
cake.
food cake.
My mother always made a white layer cake and put bananas in the
Oh.
with fondant.
And they made boiled icing. didn't they?
7-minute icing, yeah, 7-minute icing.
Now,
7 minutes.
if, before you leave, or
Get up of a morning, if we had company come in unexpectedly and she didn't have like bacon or something like that, she'd get up and kill 2 chickens and fry those for breakfast.
Yeah, we've had fried chicken for breakfast.
Yeah,
lots
she
of
would
times.
do
And
that.
I have a problem.
We'd have fried potatoes.
In the morning.
now, did you have an alarm clock, or was it just something that she just?
You just
Get
wake up,
Just-
just wake up.
yeah.
I think the men went to work really early. They went to work and they got off, came home late. They came home at 5
Were there any
o'clock.
women in the oil fields? Did they allow any women working in the oil?
Officers.
I don't
I've ever-
remember.
They were in the offices?
Some of them, you know,
Some in the
I
office.
didn't know.
majors worked in the office.
They didn't work in the field.
They didn't.
No, they didn't work in the field.
They did a Chase, we were the company Chase, and you could work, the women could work in the field. I had a
What?
granddaughter was a rouseabout,
When?
Really?
yeah, in All Hill.
Later?
Not All Hill, Chase.
Chase after they.
In Chase.
Chase. And we came from Oklahoma and then West Kansas and then here.
Okay.
But you could work, you know, kids going to college could work.
Would that be in the 70s maybe?
From the company?
Oh, yeah. 2 grandkids got scholarships.
Well, they did that often.
They gave scholarships for college to the employees' kids?
This Henry M. Doherty, I think, was a...
Suddenly, he was a farm boss. And so Mrs. Rutherford took Virginia out of 9th grade and put her in business school over Wichita. When she completed business school, then city service hired her in Fort Hill then, give her a job. She worked for the city service until she retired.
now, were they forced to move when something like that happened, or they just
Well,
remained there?
they was given a certain length of time, but they did eventually have to move out of the company house. That happened to my mother too. My stepdad
How about the
died,
Mache's?
and
What happened to them
she
too?
is about 2 or 3
Mr.
months
Mache
before she
died?
moved into town. But they didn't make them move out immediately.
They-
You know, they
I mean, my other question, did they have just enough housing for employees, or?
Is it dependent on the time?